This is episode 66 of our talk, and today I have Tammy Walters as my guest. Tammy Walters is a British modern contemporary artist based in the heart of Lancashire, UK. She is best recognized for her bold and illustrative equine and animal paintings. Her artistic development is deeply influenced by her passion for animals and her strong relationship with her family and her love of music. She is influenced by artists Charles Rennie Mackintosh, Alphonse Mucha, and Gustav Klimt. And her love for Quentin Blake and his wonderfully whimsical illustrations. Welcome, Tammy. I'm so happy to have you as my guest.
Oh, it's great to be here. Great to be here, Karen.
Yeah, and congratulations with being with your first international exhibition in my country and in my city, Amsterdam.
Absolutely. Honestly, it's it's going to be such an amazing thing. I mean, it's the first Dutch equine art fair with a collective that I've been with for just over 12 months. So this is run obviously from the Netherlands, Park Verzameld. We are 22 equine artists, sculptures, photographers. There's somebody who's written a book. That is all going to be there for this event on the 12th to the 15th of August.
Great. Fantastic. Congratulations with that. And you have another big one in September. We talk about that later.
Yes.
So you are influenced by Charles Rennie Mackintosh, a designer mainly, and watercolor artist, a colorist.
Yes. Yeah. He was an architect. Yeah, he was an architect.
An architect, yeah.
From Scotland.
And Alphonse Mucha, also an illustrator, yes. And Art Nouveau. That's also related with design and architecture, by the way. And I've seen a huge exhibition of him and his work in Rotterdam years ago.
Yeah.
And then we have Gustav Klimt, a symbolist, a member of the Vienna Secession. I've seen him in Vienna, or his work. I'm not that old. Whose subject was mainly the female body and the eroticism he painted. Yes. Last but not least, Quentin Blake. I love Quentin Blake.
He's incredible.
Who many will definitely know from his brilliant book illustrations of Roald Dahl.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
looking at your art and topic, what exactly is it that influenced you by these three artists?
I think from a really young age, I had a love of the ink pen. I just loved drawing in ink, fountain pen. I think when we were younger, we were given, we had to draw in pencil. We had to write in pencil till we got to, I'd probably say, the last year of primary school. And then you were elevated. In year 4, you got your fountain pen. And it was like, it was literally the whole way through until year 4, the excitement that you were thinking you were going to get your hands on an ink pen and, learn to do nice handwriting with this ink pen. And from then, basically that was it, the ink pen, because obviously you can get so many things, and it's such an easy thing to do. It's so detailed, a brush is not as controlled, but a pen is really controlled. And maybe I'm a bit of a control freak with that one. But I think for me, when I've started looking at why I love all these ones, if I look through them, there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of black lines going through them. There's a lot of curvature. There's a lot of, I'm just trying to think that brings them all together. They are most of them with females. And that's the anatomy for me. So even the anatomy of the female body, but the anatomy for my animals, the muscles, the elongated neck of the horse, the way it moves, all these things just light me up. They just light me up inside, Yeah.
Yeah, I find it very fascinating. I've looked at your work, and it's... I found more towards Quentin Blake in a way, but you definitely have your own style. Yes. I mean, none of these three, you're not Mucha, you're not Mackintosh, nor Blake. You really have your own style. Yeah. But I can see similarities in it. Yeah.
I think
And
I think for me, I think when I look, as most artists do, you know, we all start off by copying. We all start off by doing a Van Gogh sunflower. You know, this is how in schools in the UK, this is, you know, you'll probably find that your art teacher, whatever your art teacher is inspired by, is how it's brought out.
mm-hmm.
You know, so my art teacher in my senior school, she was really big into music. She was, at the time, obviously we're talking, you know, 30 years ago, she was out there. She was a lesbian. She was very passionate about folk music. She was passionate about being a Liverpudlian, you know, the Beatles. So I was really, you know, every art lesson for me, I couldn't wait to get there. When I was in the art lesson, she was there, you know, making us feel passionate and making us want to do our own thing. But I think that does take a long time to get that little bit of your niche going, because I think it's practice. Yeah. If you keep drawing the same thing over and over again, at some point it will become yours. Yeah.
You see this with a lot of artists. I mean, look at someone like Picasso. He started out at a very young age because his father was teaching at an art school, and he was able to draw what he saw. He knew everything, how it went, and he copied about everything that he saw to make it into his own style in the end.
Yes.
I mean, old masters, they were apprentices at one point, and to start, they copy old masters. That's still a very good thing. I wouldn't say do it from a photo. Go to the museum and do it there. That's a different aspect. But yeah, definitely. And at one point, you find your own style. And I love your style, to be honest.
Thank you.
And I was wondering, because you're an illustrator, pen and ink is typically the tool of the illustrator, but your work is also on larger canvases available. And do you feel more inclined towards illustration or painting, or do you think these are large illustrations that can go? You are walking the tightrope of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit like when I'm saying, am I an illustrator? I'm an artist, so I think an artist can have any of those things under their belt. But illustration is, for me, it's so to illustrate with a pen or to illustrate with some ink, it's really, for me, it's quick. And I love to be expressive. I love to have room to throw about. Don't get me wrong, I will have some really nice little inky works, but I think to be loose sometimes, I think on a big canvas with an ink pen or, you know, an ink on a brush. So I would say it's a large illustration with paint.
Yeah. But you're right. You said, artists should be doing everything. I mean, even when we go back in time to the old masters, they did illustrations. And whether that was with ink and pen, like Rembrandt did, he also did etching. And because etching sold.
Yes.
It's easy. It's what we can do now with our prints.
Yes.
And so, but you have to illustrate. And they did illustrations for books, etc.
Yes.
But they also did the on the front of a window shop things. They took everything. Signs. Yeah. So what we have divided in separate things, like, okay, you're either the designer, or you are the illustrator, or you are the graphic designer, or what? No, they were everything.
Yes.
Because they could do everything. They had the skill to do everything, right?
Yes, exactly. So when you practice, so as a young person, I was in my room, and that's where I stayed, you know, for much of my, up till I was maybe 15, 16. I didn't really go out. I wanted to draw, listen to music, and just experiment with paper, experiment with canvas. Didn't pick up oils very early on, but we did a lot of screen print at school. And we did etchings at school. So oil paints, I think, at school was probably a bit too far.
Yeah.
You know, because that doesn't come off your clothes and it doesn't come out. So I think we were given tools that was probably easier to manage with, you know, unruly children around.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick up oils until late. I mean, like I'm talking 35. And again, it was more, I experimented. And I think that to me is the best way to find how your medium works, is by to push it and to experiment in you know, in your way, because somebody else's way of how they mix it may not be the way that you're going to mix it, you know. So adding linseed oil, they'll add one part to you know, a bit of turpentine. Some people straight from the tube, you know. We all have our own way of. And
yeah, I wouldn't recommend that with oil paint, but that's another thing. But we have to experiment and we have to learn. But it is what I hear in you is, okay, I was 15, I was young, and I was sitting in my room and I did nothing else, and because that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And
that is the passion that's behind it. That's how you grow. That's how you hone your skills, and then you can go to an art school or go private, because what I do is not taught in art school anymore. You have to go to other people. But yeah, it's so important. It's so important. It's not like, okay, I throw something on and now I'm an artist. That's not how it works. I was wondering, because you say inspired by music, what kind of music are you listening to when you paint, or when you do you do that even?
When I get the chance to be able to blow the roof off the house, which is not very often, because my children, unfortunately, are just above there. So, you know, I can't, at 9 o'clock in the morning, they're not going to take kindly to me raising the roof. So I actually paint in the afternoon. So afternoon for me, I find the best time for flow state. Whatever, I think there's you know, some people's right side and left sides of the brain are different. You could be a morning person, you could be an afternoon. I'm an afternoon person. And I listen to the Beatles. You know, they inspire me a lot. They inspire me because a lot of people are working class from Liverpool. Most people are working class from Liverpool. And, you know, I think they were written off really early, you know, early on. There'd never be anything, you know, their chords are rubbish. You know, they've only got 3 chords. A lot of people would say they've only got 3 chords to the song. You know, they're very simple. But wow, did they make an impression on the world? And I think because I am from Liverpool, sometimes I think we are pushed down a little bit. You know, your accent, sometimes, you know, it goes before you. So someone hears you speak and automatically they think that you don't have any qualifications. They don't think you could, you know, you're very good at this. And part of me feels like I want to prove people wrong. I want to prove people wrong that actually, you know, I didn't go to university. It wasn't it wasn't in my family. It wasn't pushed for me to go to university. I went down the administration route, you know, and I was a PA. I worked in a bank. Would I have got to this point in my career in university? Would it have pushed me somewhere else? I don't know. So I'm not going to go back and think it's one thing I regret. I think I've got my way through life, and maybe that's why I'm as passionate as I am today.
Yeah, it's a shame that based on accent, based on the color of your skin, people are downplaying on you as if you're nothing. I always have like, did you speak with them? Did you talk with them? And who are you that you can say that? That you can judge? These judgments in the world are terrible. Yeah.
So you know, for me, I do rise above that, but that comes with age as well. It comes with age, and
you get wise, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, Probably when I was 20, I would probably feel, you know, out of my depth if I was anywhere with other artists, and that you know, I probably would have felt inadequate.
Yeah.
But at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're doing great. So you write that the place you live inspires you to paint and draw animals. Do you paint them live as they show up, or how do you do that? Because that hare is not going to sit there. Okay, I mean,
no, it's not. No, it's not.
Please,
it's not
quickly, because I can't sit that long for.
No. It's very difficult to paint an animal live, because you're not going to get an animal like that to sit.
No.
Simple as that. I love to watch videos.
Yeah.
Or anything on the on a TV, Country File or David Attenborough in the wild. That's how I get my inspiration, because if I sit and watch a video, or I can find a YouTube channel, what you know, Google is amazing. You can find anything on there. So if I feel like, right, okay, I'm going to go down the line of maybe, for instance, the hare, you know, go online and I'll put in, you know, hares running, and I'll watch video, and I tend to sketch from that. And I think because I do have the loose strokes and the ink pen and the drippiness of it, it's quite easy to capture something from that.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I'm not trying to make it look real. I'm not trying to make it look, you know, every single hair is in its place.
Yeah.
It's my interpretation and my sort of.
Yeah. But I think what you just described, every single hair, that has to do with that hyper realism, and that is rather copying a photo than making art. That is a high skill highly skilled in patience.
Yes. Yes.
Highly skilled in patience.
Yeah.
But it's not fine art, and it's not there's no creativity in it, right?
Yeah. It's not for me.
And can you tell us a bit more about your process from start to finish? How do you start? I mean, you say, okay, I can watch and make things, but
a lot of it is my imagination, and that will come from when I go for a walk. So I walk 5 miles every morning I've got 3 dogs. So we walk out, and it is countryside, it's farmland. We have carrots, we have potatoes, we have lots of vegetables around us. So we are, you know, my neighbor is half a mile down the road. So we are really out in the sticks. The colors, you know, when you get up in the summer, the sunrise, the colors when you go out, all these things. If you look at my work, they're not. You know, I have a blue horse, or I've got a cow with a pink nose, or I've got a hare with yellow and orange. These are not colors that you would normally find on an animal. No. But what I'm doing is obviously picking up on all those colors, the beautiful colors, and making it. I think what I try and do is make an animal look. I'm trying to explain how I would word it. So if I do a horse, I want my horse to appeal to people who don't have a horse. You don't have to necessarily have, you know, an equestrian background to warrant putting a piece of my art on the wall. Yeah. You know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stretch, I'm trying to push a lot of my work so that it goes more arty, if you were to say, more artistic, more abstract, but you still know it's something. Yeah. Well,
I've seen the 2 lions that go into the David Shepherd wildlife. Yes. But you can definitely see those are lions, although they're not like every hair and whisker is done. No. But they have a kind of an emotion when they are together like that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's where I'm painting from.
Yeah, your emotion.
My emotion. So when I have that excitement, so for instance, the lions, or for the hares when they're busy and they're running around, and if it's a joyful thing, then you will probably pick up a joyful feeling when you see. But actually, a lot of mine are very deep and very. My horses, I feel, because when I look at a horse, I do feel sadness. I can't help it. They may be beautiful, but they are lone. I do look at it and I feel almost a loneliness
That is very interesting, because you are best known for your equine paintings and illustrations. And that was a question. What is it that draws you mostly to horses? And is there a special bond? Because I know horses are one of the most intuitive animals there are. They can read you if you can read animals. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never owned a horse. I didn't have the fortunate, you know, my parents, we didn't grow up in an area where it was, you know, nobody I knew ever owned a horse. But we were in an area where Aintree Racecourse, which is the Grand National, is one of the biggest horse races in the world. That's literally down the road from where we lived. And my passion came for horses was my granddad. So I used to spend a lot of time. I was the first grandchild, so obviously spent a lot of time with my grandparents. And my grandfather used to put a bet on the horses. So he used to put a bet on the races. So he would give me the paper, and he would say, pick one out. So of course it was exciting for me to pick. You know, it would either be the number, or we'd watch it on the TV, and he'd tell me to, you know, I choose the color. So it would be the whole, you know, the jockey with the pink stripe, or the, you know, the yellow hat. And then that excitement of watching that race, because, you know, I've picked number 3 and I've picked number 1 for granddad. The excitement of that horse getting to the finish line, it wasn't about monetary. It wasn't a monetary gain. It was the excitement of, I've picked that horse and it's won, you know?
Yeah.
The horses come from that. And then lots of things on TV. You know, we were a family that really enjoyed cinema. So cinema or TV. And Black Beauty was a big program.
Black Beauty,
that was very sad, because obviously Black Beauty started off, and someone, you know, someone decided to leave poor Black Beauty, you know, to be sold in a market. That's my passion, is that these animals are, you know, they're bred, and some of them go by the wayside. Some of them are looked after 7-star. So you know, your horse racing and your dressage, you can see all these, but that's very few. The rest are left in the field sometimes, some happily and some not so happily.
Yeah.
So
it's my sister had a horse. I was also always crazy about horses, but what I've watched on Netflix a documentary. It's from the Netherlands, because they're very famous for the breed of horses. They bred their race horses, etc.
Yes.
But if you know how they do this
is it. It's the same as,
I had like, oh my God. And there was one who said, I don't want that. I don't go in there. He said, those foals need to parade there to see if they tested well. You should know what they put into those little animals. And I had like, how could they? And that's only for the money. It's only for the money.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna find that with most things. And I think for me, as you get older and you look again, we'll talk about it probably later on with the conservation, you know. A lot of it, again, it's down to human greed. You know,
I think we created a planet for the human animal and not anyone else. And that's because we cultivate everything and we think we can dive into it. And that comes to the next question. You are selected for the David Shepherd Wildlife of the Year 2023 exhibition at the Mall Galleries here in London in September. I want to congratulate you with that, because that's amazing.
Honestly, I'm still pinching myself. I really am. It did take me by surprise, because I entered late. Again, you know, we're on Instagram, we're on social media, you know, I was scrolling through as you do. You know, obviously you see lots of competitions, open calls. And I had put this in my diary, I don't know how many times. Don't forget, have a little look, you know, read about the submission process, read about what it is. And I'd left it late. and I thought, okay, come on. It was, 2 hours before it's due to close. And I just put that one image in, forgot about it. And then obviously got a beautiful email to say, you've got through.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I actually read through some of the brief on the social media is that actually how many people entered, and it wasn't just from this country.
No, it's worldwide. It's worldwide, because another friend of mine, she has done this before, also in, I think it was lockdown. So they had at that point they had a virtual exhibition.
Yes.
And she's painting the elephant, the whole process from birth to death, etc. But the David Shepherd Wildlife is a charity, helps wildlife. And what made you participate, and how important is care and awareness around wildlife and extinction of species for you?
Oh, it's really big. It's really big. And again, it's not just wildlife. It's the whole animals, it's the whole animal planet. Down to breeding dogs, farmland, sheep. It's the whole thing for me. I am I'm not going to say I'm one of these people who goes out as an activist, because I'm not, but I try my best to be kind and caring about things around me, about things that, I think as a person, I'm a nurturer. I'm a worrier. I worry about people. I worry that people haven't got food to eat. The same as I would worry that, the dog is starving down the road, or, we've got a bad drought and that means all these animals, even the mad cow disease. I mean, watching programs like that, it's horrendous, the things that are happening in the world. And the David Shepherd, obviously for me as an artist, is that we can make such a difference because we're visual. So when we portray whatever it is, it's not just animals on this David Shepherd, it's the earth, it's the landscape. There's different categories. I'm in a facing extinction category, but there is lots of other things about the planet, about the sea. It's everything around us. We're here as custodians of the planet, and as an artist, we record. So, like the cave paintings long, years ago, we're going to record these images, and I don't want it to be in 30 years' time that my grandchildren look in a book and there's something that I've took, something that I've drawn that doesn't belong anymore because it's extinct. And a lot of these animals, what we're talking tigers,
orangutans, whales, sharks, the reefs, because the reef is a living organism. And that, to me, because that's what I absolutely love, that passion. And I have to be honest, I'm a portrait artist, but I start to go more towards animal portraits because of this. Because I think we need to have that more than anything else.
Absolutely.
That awareness. And for me, the most important thing is always the symbiosis we need. I mean, I always say to people, but listen, there is no competition. It's not there. It's from the smallest organism to the biggest. That when we work together in symbiosis, we can live together in symbiosis and in health.
Exactly.
And somehow it doesn't come in. So, And then going towards that, the last question, do you have some advice for artists who feel that they have to, like me, contribute to wildlife and bring awareness to what we as humans doing to nature and wildlife? I mean, it's also nature. I'm currently painting very little canvas boards with trees. And people can order them with me, say, okay, I want this tree, and I give half of that to an organization that reforests for reforestation. Because we need trees. Half of the world is burning to crisps. because we just and we put what's his name, David Attenborough. He says palm plants are dead forests. There's no biodiversity possible there.
Okay. And so what we can do as what we can do as artists, obviously, I've even made a note because I thought I'm going to forget about half of the things that I've written down. Everything we do, putting face cream on, we're trying to save our skin. It's affecting somewhere else. It's affecting a tree. It's affecting an animal skin, animal, whatever, the fat they take out, makeup, until as a young person, I would not have even give that a second thought. I would not have thought that those things I was putting on my skin have come from an animal.
Yep. Plastic.
Yes. Lots of things. So one, as an artist, and not just, everyone should be thinking about this, but as an artist, because we are visual and because we can produce things to sell. So I can sell, prints, I can sell my paintings, I can put a percentage of those towards David Shepherd's Foundation. I'm happy to do that. And I think even if I entered that competition and I didn't even get picked, or my name never even went on a list, I've given something because I have to pay to actually enter the competition. So all that money I know goes to keeping keeping this foundation. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I've seen that before, documentaries about the Aspinall Foundation. They rewild animals and they do such a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning what they do.
Yeah.
And so I thought about them and also this one, but it is necessary. And I think that we as artists, apart from being very conscious about what you put on your face, I don't do makeup anyway, so, and I use coconut oil, but that's still a plant and it still comes from a tree. And just what I say, those plants, forests they create are dead forests. So we have to really be conscious how we live and what we do. And the fact that lots of little whales are now going onto the beach, they die in whole collectives, like hundreds. That tells you something about the state of the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my heart starts to bleed when I hear that.
Yeah. And being so, when I'm so engrossed in my painting with whatever particular animal, all this is in my mind. All these feelings are in my mind. They're subject to so many horrible, horrible things. I follow quite a few. So with my illustrations, I love doing dogs as well. So I do a lot of little dog illustrations. So I have a separate page for that. And it's huge, the amount of people and followers that you get just from the pets. So having the pets, but they're also, a lot of them are designer pets, which needs to stop. It just needs to stop because these poor animals are getting they're getting small, the faces are getting different, they're trying to change the colors. Leave them, just stop trying to
they are bred so much that their nose is too small, that they snort, they can't breathe normally,
and then they can't sell them. They can't sell them because they're not well, and then they end up in a rescue center. So we just, as a society, just need to just stop thinking of having, it's the same as you want your things tomorrow. You want something from Amazon and people are going to Amazon because you can get it tomorrow. That's not the best thing for the world, is it?
It isn't, no. And that's the same for art. Art is silence, slowing down time. It's not about, I commission you, needs to be there tomorrow. And I think that's very important. And it's maybe also a downside of internet. I saw a brilliant time lapse, a 1 hour drawing that is in a time lapse, 12 seconds.
Yes.
I know. I've done the same with a portrait. That was when George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah.
I did his portrait. It took me an hour to do that, and I had like a few seconds where I could show what I actually did. I had like, wow, yeah, that gives such a strange image towards people who don't know what art is and think, wow, they can do that quick. I saw one of the followers saying that you can do this quick.
Exactly. But
it's a distorted vision of what it actually is.
Well, this is the society. It's swipe.
Yeah.
It's the swipe society.
The swipe society, and everything art on a whim. Art is not on a whim. Art takes time. Slow down, time, and silence. Shut off your phones and think about what you're doing and why you do it, and how that influences society and the world at large. Absolutely. And that's what you do with your art. And I think that's brilliant.
Absolutely. I think my art for me is, it keeps me sane. It keeps me, it keeps the stress out of my life. Yeah. For me, I find that when I'm, when I get into a really deep flow, it's more like a meditative state. And I definitely do think that helps me and has helped me through menopause and difficult times in your life when you're bringing up teenagers and stuff.
Teenagers,
I would definitely recommend people take up art, because it is such a calming, it can be such a calming experience.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, where can people find you? And I will put it also in the show notes with links.
Okay. So they can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and my handle is the same. It's Tammy Walters Fine Art. I do have a website, and it's www.tammywaltersfineart.co.uk. And I do have another Instagram page, which is my illustrations, Tammy Walters Illustrations, if you want to look at my and little dog drawings and gift cards and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I will look that up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that you go this week already to Amsterdam, or next week?
I leave on the 8th, next week.
Oh, okay, next week. Yeah, I wish you a lovely time in Amsterdam.
Thank you.
It's close to the Vondelpark, which, by the way, is extremely busy with bicycles. So watch it when you walk.
I'll be careful.
Be careful. Yeah. And thank you.
I appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Karen.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.